Okay, folks, here we go.
Guys, here we go. Let's have a good show.
1B, stand by. Okay,
Yeah.
gas.
Yeah,
Take it.
get at midfield.
Take
Just go
it.
right now. Go to camera 3. 3. Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, graphics 2 is going to be up for the first. Okay.
Take it.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep. Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q. Sophie.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand by.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
All right, and here we are, guys. Friday night, April. I was gonna say March 11th. It's already April, for God's sake. We're in the second quarter of the year already, but it's Friday night, 8 p.m. Happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. Love having you guys on and kick off our weekend with all our Zonian friends. Really cool show tonight. We have some amazing guests, some iconic guests, both iconic in Panama and iconic around the world. So we really have quite the crowd there. We're going to learn about the Darien Gap, a lot of things that we've heard on the news about it, but we're going to get firsthand knowledge from some people that they probably still have mud on their boots from leaving the Darien Gap just a few hours ago. That's how fresh this news is. That's what Happy at the Balboa Yacht Club brings you. So, but nonetheless, it's not just myself. My co-host out on the West Coast, Ricky. What's going on, Papa?
Hey, hello everybody, and welcome. First of all, it's 5:02 in the West Coast. Beautiful weather, like always out here. But anyways, welcome everybody to the Happy Hour at the Balboa Yacht Club podcast, a live show that is all about the Canal Zone, the Panama Canal, and the Canal Zone way of life. A weekly podcast that always starts with the toast. Salute, everybody. And again, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm enjoying my adult beverage here in my Mola.
For God's sorry if you're watching. We should have had our.
Well, yeah, you know, I have to have. This is from our Balboa Trading Club collection from Ruthie MacArthur, whose birthday it is today. And Ruthie, I apologize for not getting back to you. I've been very busy, but nonetheless, we'll get to that in just a
I'm
moment.
worried about getting Ruthie on our bad side.
I know, right? No, Ruthie's great people. She was my neighbor when I was way back in the Amador Road days, early elementary school days. So, and speaking of the MacArthurs, Dickie MacArthur, the Richard MacArthur, will be joining us next month here, talking about his repatriation back to Panama. He just recently retired and moved back to Panama, so it's been a really cool adventure to watch him posting on Facebook all his great pictures of traveling and living a life in Panama. And if it's something that you're looking at doing one day or you're just curious about it, not only will he be telling us his story, but also Pedro Penalver, who's a realtor in Panama, and he's been doing relocations or repatriations from Americans back to Panama for many years. So great show to have some great information on getting yourself back to Panama. So don't miss it. We'll let you know when it's coming up here next month, but stay tuned. That's going to be an exciting show. So anyway, real quick, also don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel, like and subscribe to the channel, get the notification every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Panama time, 5 p.m. West Coast time. So don't miss it, but make sure you guys stay tuned to that and don't miss a great show. So, but anyway, let's move things along quick because we've got some guests that are going to be tuning in, both from Panama out in the ocean there in Panama. So fingers crossed. And then, of course, also Matt Tomlin from Panama, but he's landlocked today, so that'll be fun. But before we do that, let's say hello to some of our friends that have stepped in and said hello to us. Mike and I have been chatting online for a couple of days. I'm really excited about this show. There's so much that we want to know, we think we know, we maybe have heard we know about Darien, but the latest and greatest is coming up today. So that's going to be really cool to find out what's going on there and you know
Yeah,
how.
but it's not. Well, it's not just what's going on. Also, we're going to learn like where everything is on the map, right? We're going to show a
Right.
map tonight. You know where this base is, where that bridge is, where this river is, etc. And by the
Yeah.
way, some of those rivers are the rivers that we're going to see tonight. Are the rivers that Henry Morgan took to
Oh,
sack
absolutely.
Panama City. Same rivers that Balboa took to come discover
Sure.
the
Yeah.
Pacific.
No. Captain Andrew's been sharing some of that video as they were making their way up there to drop these guys off, and then they went inland for quite a while. He picked them up early this evening, and they were headed down, and that's when they're out in the open sea now. He just actually sent a video a little while ago that they're. I mean, it's pitch black. They're out in the middle of the ocean, man. But they're heading back to Panama. It's
And
it's
those
if you
rivers.
draw a straight line from the Darien province from that mouth of that river, the San Miguel River to Panama, you really do go out in the middle of what what's arguably open water. You don't even see land from there at that point. So they're out there doing their thing, man.
Big
So
rivers. You guys will be surprised the size of those rivers out there. I mean, they're
yeah,
not.
so no,
People swim across those rivers are amazing to me, man.
it's well that just shows you what drives somebody to get up here to the U.S. I guess, but nonetheless, it's not happening as much anymore, and but we're going to find out what may happen down the road. So anyway, that's speculation for later on in the show. But Jim, good to see you on the show again. Hello, happy Friday to you. Jill, happy Friday to you
Jill,
as well. Good to see you.
Jill.
And look, Ricky, there's your sister Raina. How you
Hola,
doing?
my
Good to see you.
brothers. Reina.
Yeah, they had a great vacation. Raina and some of her Zonian sister friends up there in South Carolina.
17, I believe. 17 of
Yeah,
them
that
got
was
the
that
third
was
year
quite a group.
anniversary of that party.
Absolutely. Salute. Cheers to you as well. Absolutely, Raina. And Leaf, good to see you again, Papa. Salute,
Real
hermano.
Leaf.
Yes, salute to
Salute,
you for
everybody.
sure. Daniel, salute. Yep. Fellow CZ Brats. Heck yeah, the CZ Brats are alive. Well, Jim, absolutely. Good to see you again.
Jim
Uh,
Duffus, right on.
real quick, Jim, I'm going to pull my calendar up. I should already have it up somewhere, but me absent-minded as I am. We're looking at the 25th of April of this month, if you're available to do that Gatun Lock show. So tentatively write that in. Put it in pencil. We don't put anything in pen here, but we should be getting that one together. We'll try and get together before then and chat about it, and maybe throw some stuff together, some maybe pictures and video or whatever else to support it. But that's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Bringing the ship through the Gatun locks and having the perspective of several different people. I got to get a hold of Dave Cohen and again, guys, anybody that we know that was in marine traffic control, preferably in on the Atlantic side, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. I imagine the procedures were probably similar if you know worked the ship in through the radio. You probably was similar on the Pacific or the Atlantic side. So, but that's the only other perspective that we want to make sure we capture on that. If you're available for that, Jim, if anybody knows someone in marine traffic control, again, if they were in Gatun preferred, we'd love to have them on the show to give us that perspective as well. So, all right, yeah, you're welcome. Fantastic, everybody. Well done. And there's Jason. Hey, Jason, this is our
Hey,
Sabor Patrol, our Sabor Patrol star in the making here is going to be joining us for a new and upcoming segment that we're going to put on every few weeks. That's going to show you guys some cool places to get some grub down in Panama. Maybe off the beaten path a little. It's as he says in his own words, he's no Anthony Bourdain. We're not going to go through these Michelin
oh,
star
yes,
food
he is.
reviews, but yes, yeah, don't let him kid you, the guys. If you see his Instagram and see his cooking, he's not an amateur by any stretch. Okay,
And
yes,
not
indeed.
normal plates. He's not doing,
No,
fettuccine alfredo and stuff like that. No, he's creative. A little Turkish, little Greek, a little Panamanian,
yeah,
little
oh yeah, without a doubt, without a
Americano.
doubt.
He mixes that stuff up and he knows how to choose those restaurants too. That's why we
Yes,
have a
indeed, he
show
does.
for him. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to bring that on. He's going to join us along with Jack Whitlock. He's going to bring us his angle on things. If you guys know Jack Whitlock, he's quite the character. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun, especially considering we're getting ready to do our Canals on reunion in Panama next year for us for our 40th, you guys for your 45th. So a lot of us are heading down, and it'd be cool to know some places to get some good food and some eating just again off the beaten path a little bit. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for that segment. Sabor Patrol. Be on the lookout for it, guys. Leaf, what do we got? Green screen looks great. Yeah, it does. I did. I actually do have. I don't know if you can see it here, but I do have a green screen all the way on the back there. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, it was. You know what? I watched the show afterwards, and I was like, God, that thing really did stink. Plus, I am using a headset, but I did notice, and guys, feel free when I'm doing it on the show. If the mic sounds a little wonky, let me know. I always ask Ricky, and he's like, "Oh, it sounds great." And then I listen afterwards, and I'm like, "What the hell was he listening to, man? It sounds like shit." But nonetheless, if you hear something, let me know. I want to make sure that I have it right. But I do have a new lapel mic that's supposed to be long lasting, so it'll. I think this one might even outlast Al Sprague's 3 hour shows, but we'll see. But anyway, what else? Oh, good to see you, Dad. Hola, hola, hermano. Good to see you, Papa. And Steve talked to him, and he was going to join us tonight, but a little bit under the weather. Hopefully, you're feeling better. He'll join us next week, which will be an interesting segue from what we're going to learn tonight regarding the Darien, because lately Darien has been known more so for migrants coming through, but for a long time, Darien was known as that inhospitable area that if you were there, you were either a native, you were a guerrilla, or you were a drug dealer, right? Those are the only three people that were in that area. And so, he's got a great book, Final Flight, that he wrote or co-wrote, that's a true crime story regarding smuggling and whatnot. So I imagine he's got some other angles on Darien, maybe from another era, but yeah, Vieja, that's right. That was a cat and I was throwing that out earlier today, but yes, Vieja for sure, man. That stuff's out there. If it's going to be anywhere in Panama, it's going to be on Darien. Mostly street food. Yes, there you go. Fondas. Yeah, fondas, pindas, we'll call them fondas here. But yes, absolutely. There's a lot of these places. Like I said, we're not looking at a 5-star review here where you're going to button up and you're going to, the text will. It's going to be, dude, this is good food. For example, I know many of us can say we had a great carne en palitos at about 2:00 in the morning on Friday night.
Right there by Grand Morrison's. That was the
spot. That thing was, man, about 1/4 of a star, man, but it was damn good at that hour. So, I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, you can definitely go play street football after eating some carne en palito, man. You've got the energy.
For sure, man. And that's why, listen, you grow up eating that stuff, and hell, you didn't need a vaccination later on, man. You survive everything with that. HB, there's an upcoming HB. Is it a movie or a miniseries? I believe it's a movie. Let us know in the chat here. I know we're a few seconds behind, but it's of course HB is. I'm pretty sure I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag here, because I know somebody asked you the other day and you kind of gave a wink when you're talking about it, but it's the Panama Papers, right? We all are familiar with the Panama Papers recently.
Yeah.
Right? But there's a movie coming out about that, and again, I think I'm waiting. I'm trying to drag this out to see if he'll type something in the chat here before we get started. But that's something upcoming, of course. Recently, on the Hallmark Channel, on Hallmark Plus, you could see Mystery Island, both the original one that came out a couple of years ago, and then the second part, which came out just premiered a couple of weeks ago. But as HB said, go on to Hallmark Plus. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial, watch them both, and then cancel it, and you can check him out. You can see a Zonian friend of ours, the VHS graduate, that's making a name for him on the silver screen and on the tube and whatnot. Not to mention on the stage down in Panama. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
He's well known down there for sure.
Yeah. So, but anyway, check that out if you can. Yeah, for sure. Kevin, good to see you again. How's it going? Have a happy Friday to you. A great weekend. Yeah. Kevin, he was on here last year when we were talking football and Rams football and stuff, and then we kind of segued into Bush Patrol and cops and the police and everything, because his dad was part of that Bush Patrol. Interesting story about those guys, because the name was almost a misnomer, because they were more than just Bush Patrol. I mean, these guys were out on boats. They were, they did it all, man. It was
it had to be the best job in the Canal Zone.
Right, man. Yeah, for sure.
But let's not fool ourselves. Those guys also dealt with bodies and people being eaten by alligators, and they had to deal with.
Well, I know my dad told me a story one time where he had to help out and go out. It was somewhere past Summit, but apparently somebody hunting had had dropped their rifle and it went off and it shot them in the face and whatnot. And so they had to go way out in the woods. And of course, these guys in their outfits and their boots and whatnot, but
Four by
the police
fours.
officers that were supporting, they didn't have time to go and change. They were going in their police uniforms and heading out. So interesting story. But yeah, I think you're right, Ricky, that those would be if there's a job, it's like, okay, you get your choice of which job you want. I mentioned that's the one that filled up first.
Yeah, like the people that jumped off the bridge, they're the ones that went in and had to, get them out of the water.
But they were also on the boats. If you love fishing and stuff, yeah. Think about on the lakes. Those guys are out there as well. And so if it's a slow day, you probably, you might have got a fishing pole. You throw a line out there and catch a few bass. Some
You remember when
peacock
the African bees came and we lost one of our coaches? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the kind of stuff those guys had to attend to. Well, anyways, where's that clippity clap song? Boom, there it is.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Let's
let's
move on,
move
let's
things
move
right
on.
along here because we do have some guests that are on standby. So let's get our bochinche. It is going to be sort of, we have kind of updated our format a little bit on the show. We've recently with everything that's gone on in Panama with Trump, that's all kicked off, right before the holidays. It seems like a lot of the focus and a lot of the conversation has been around Panama and has been around that geopolitics phrase, and we've kind of strayed away a little bit from our original show as far as the Zonian history and whatnot. So Ricky and I sat by the other night, just talking about our last few shows and what we're feeling like and so forth, and of course now Ricky has a new computer, so now he knows how to play with all these buttons and whistles and everything. So, but one of the things we want to do, for example, this bochincha segment, it is a lot of fun, but it's kind of taken a life of its own in a sense. And so we're going to shorten it up and not make it a regular show. It'll be something that pops in every few weeks to kind of chit chat a little bit about what's going on in Panama right now, but not really in depth. The focus of this show is the Canal Zone and especially what we did back in the day and remember this and remember that and the spillway. So we want to get back to that, but we're not going to lose touch of what we have, with our Panama audience either. We're just going to dial it back a little bit. That's all. So, yes, Ricky does have a new toy. Exactly, Raina. That's exactly right. It's at the most, and sometimes at the most awkward moments, you're like, hey, and unfortunately, so-and-so passed away. And all of a sudden there's cheering. You're like, what? So it's like, but we'll let him get worn out with his new toy, and then I think we'll be okay.
There's still. I'm gonna have to add some more. I'm gonna have to drop in some more.
He does, yeah. He's like a kid in the candy store with those buttons and stuff. So, but Jill, we do love his bochinche, and so we're not getting rid of it, but we're just gonna, it's one of those things. Like, for example, I love cheesecake, but if I ate that every night, after a while, it'd be like, so
Willie,
it's a treat,
because I'm the
right?
bochinchero. Let me get the bochinche out.
Indeed, you are.
Willie and I have decided to do another show for you guys. Starting, we'll be doing it on Saturdays, but it will be a geopolitical podcast, straight up politics. So,
well, not really politics so much. It really is more like international stuff. It's in more of that stuff. But anyway, we're gonna. Again, we try really hard to keep these two separated. I know that, for example, on Facebook and on social media, I'm quite a bit different than here in certain ways. But that is what it is. We just want to keep the two. Always have made it a point to keep politics out of this. But it's kind of crept in a little bit only because of everything that's been going on. It's hard to ignore it. We certainly, as much as we try, we'd be doing everybody a disservice because a lot of you guys and a lot of us are certainly curious about what's going on with the canal and with the ports and everything else. But it's not like it's someplace that we've heard of, and we lived there, for a long time. So it is still near and dear to our hearts. But let's always stay focused on our mission here, which is bringing back those Canal Zone memories and all that fun stuff that it's like what we do at the reunions. You think about it at the reunion. What is the most common phrase spoken at the reunion every year? It starts with 2 words or 3 words. Do you remember? No, it's do you remember? Once you start talking to somebody and like, let's say you and I hadn't seen each other in 10 years.
Remember when?
Yes,
remember when?
Exactly. One version of that or another. That's really what it is.
You remember when?
Totally, man. If you had to pay to use the word remember, you'd be broke at the reunion, either from booze or from using the word remember, because That's what we do as Zonians. We love to reminisce about the good old days, and 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 that's why sometimes people that are not Zonians, they'll tune into this show and they may catch something really cool. And like, man, I'm gonna watch the show some more. And maybe the next week they tune in and they're like, who the hell cares about a traffic light in front of some intersection? But to us, that had some meaning, like we talk about the jump on Gaylord Highway between Auburn, you know,
Everybody knows
and
that jump.
right, and that's what I'm saying. To us, that's
I mean,
memorable, and we
every
can all be like,
Zonian knows that jump. Maybe not everybody.
exactly.
knows, but we
And so
all
when
know
you
that
bring
jump.
that up, it elicits a smile from us because we all remember that if you were driving when you first started driving, as soon as you got there, if there was no cars in front of you, or if there was cars in front of you, you slow down way behind to give yourself some room so you could get a bit of a jump. But anybody else you tell that story to, they're like, okay, it's a street. What's the big deal,
Yeah,
So
you're right about that. You're absolutely right.
yeah, it really
Right,
is, and that's what makes our show fun. And so this was a long-winded way of saying that we're not taking stuff away. We're just kind of retooling some things on the show to make sure that we do really focus on the do you remembers, because that's
Yeah.
what
I mean, there's
we
still
have a lot of fun
Bochija,
doing.
but a
Yeah,
smaller version. There's still Bochija. We got a lot of Bochija to tell you guys. But speaking
yeah.
of Bochija, let's just move right
Yeah,
along
back
to ¿Qué pasa?
SCN Television presents Que Pasa. And now here's this evening's host, Army Sergeant Bob Foster.
Good evening and welcome to Que Pasa. We've got two guests tonight. First Sergeant First Class Jim Webb. Sergeant Webb's with the 227th Military Police Detachment. He's the kennel master.
There you go.
Right
There's
on,
our
man.
K
Really, I like
Pasta
that
song.
graphic. Good job on the graphics. Well, guys, Que Pasa is a segment, our second segment of the show. We have 4 segments per show now. And it's all about announcements. So, Willie, if you don't mind, I'll start the announcements. May
By all
3rd,
means.
guys, still about a month out, short of a month, but you need to register. May 3rd, the Gulf Coast Spring Fling Pool Party. Can't miss this, you Zonians out there, especially you Floridian Zonians. It's going to be in Palmetto, Florida, at a resort. Plenty to do. Plenty space for everybody to go out there. If you don't sign up, still go. It's not like you can't go. But anyways, this
Yeah, and if you need more information on it real quick, you can go to the pancanalsociety.org page. It's up there on the screen and get more info on that.
It's a PCS sponsored event, Pan Canal Society event, and the sponsors, the people who are putting it together, is Kelly Morris, class of '81, Cheryl Williams, and Dixie Barons. Those 3 girls are putting that big party together. So if you still have time, make your plans and
it's a potluck, if I'm not mistaken. So bring a dish, right?
Always,
Bring a dish there.
always.
I was talking to Georgia Teak the other day. We're working on a healthy eating podcast we want to launch, and we're going to see if we can try and attend and bring something healthy to share with the crowd. That might be fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's pretty cool. So that's your May spring get together there. And then also don't forget, guys, that the Canal Zone reunion here in Orlando. Obviously, that's our 4th of July weekend, as you all know. Make sure that you not only register, for your rooms and stuff at the hotel, but make sure you register at the society. Get your membership up to date. Obviously, you get discounts for that as well. They have that Saturday beach, not the beach, the pool party, and that one is complimentary beer for members of the society. So that alone, heck, you can drink $30-$40 worth of beer, and that'll cover half of that membership anyway. So make sure you get that taken care of. But also the Canal Zone reunion in Panama, which is in January of 2026, is coming up. I know my class of '86 is going, so make sure you guys check that out. But they already have the hotels and whatnot set up and open, so check them out if you want to. On the Facebook page, you can find them at facebook.com/Canal Zone Reunion. They do have links to they have special rates for the hotel at that location there, as well as I think there's the one in Albrook and Clayton, which, as we found out now, the zone is pretty close. Get all those places, Uber to those places. And between now and January, you'll learn about some cool places to get some street food there from the Sabor Patrol and Jason Curtides and Jack Whitcock. So looking forward to that. But Canal Zone reunions coming up, so get yourself booked, guys. Check them out at the page here.
Yeah. And speaking of Panama, another announcement we have that we always like to share with you at the Canal House, aka the Balboa Yacht Club, every Thursday night, guys. There's a happy hour there, sangria night. That's 2 for 1. So it's a good spot to go check out some former Canal Zone residents and people that live there. So that's the Canal House, sangria night, happy
There you
hour,
go.
Thursday nights. And then
Like
speaking
Thursday
of a
nights
little
at the
bit
Middle
more,
Bar in Panama. Remember, the Yacht Club Thursday nights was
Thursday night was
our
how
middle
you
night bar.
started the weekend. How you started
Yeah.
the weekend. That was actually a lot of fun because that's when the Panamanians also came. So it was Zonians
Yeah,
and
because it was low
Panamanians.
key. It wasn't as
It
many
was
people. It was a smaller, much smaller crowd. You know,
and,
it
and,
wasn't
and
like
there was no fights. I remember that. There was no fights. It
correct.
was a
So I'm saying it was very low
cool
key. It
thing
was
with it. Yeah.
it was man.
When
And it's
Panamanians
funny,
would
but when
come and
you know if
hang out with us.
when you talk to your stateside friends or to your spouses and tell them about that, the it's funny. Their reaction isn't about anything other than you were in high school and you're allowed to go to a bar. You know, it's like, yeah, why?
Thursday nights
What's
too,
wrong
you
with
know what
that?
I mean? Jesus
Uh,
Christ.
and
No,
it's
but
not
yeah,
like we snuck out to do it. It was understood it. You were allowed to do it. You just had to be home by midnight on a Thursday night because you had school.
yeah, that's true. That's true. By midnight, we were all home. 11, 12. We were all taking
Yeah,
off.
it wasn't a rowdy night, but it was still a night to go out and have a beer, and it was just
Everybody was
that
there.
that I mean, you
Middle
talk
ball.
about the Canal Zone way. That certainly is one of those things you can call the Canal Zone way, where here a bunch of Americans in school are going out to a bar and with the acceptance from their parents about it. It wasn't like I said, we weren't sneaking out to do it. You know, a lot of times we did sneak out, but that wasn't one of them.
Our last announcement is, guys, this is big because we've been always telling you and updating you whenever there's a race at the Autodromo, which is that new
Yes.
racing place. Well, NASCAR Mexico is now coming to Panama. That's huge, huge, huge,
Yeah,
huge in racing world in Latin America.
that
NASCAR
is.
Mexico, September 13th, which is on a Saturday. If you want to see some good Latin American racing, that's the one to go. And they also have the Challenge Series, which they've been having for years, and that's all the big 8 cylinders like the Lamborghinis, the
Yeah, right,
Audis,
right.
those big cars.
And that's
That's
down at that new Autodromo that's outside of on the other side of Campana Hill.
right on the way
So
down. You can
real,
see it.
it's a big racing complex. It's not, the only thing I remember when I lived down in Panama was once one of the first things that changed hands on a treaty that was kind of a big change in a sense was that they turned Albrook into a racetrack. Remember, you could have
Oh, I remember
race.
those. I lived there for
Yeah,
that. I was there for that. Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool. But it's nothing like what they have there, and that's this is NASCAR's second division of racing. You know, it's not obviously you have and I forget what the names of them are, but they have two divisions in the top division there or in the top rank. But the international racing, this is a big one. This Mexico
This
one.
is
So you're gonna have a
huge,
lot of
huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, a lot of heavy
Panama
hitters and stuff.
is
So
Panama's
yeah,
just in the news a lot right now. I mean,
but
everybody's talking
But
Panama.
let's move along
That's
real quick because we are going to run out of time here, and we do have some bochinche. Or you know what, Ricky? For what it's worth, we may want to do the bochinche afterwards. And I'll tell you,
sure.
only reason why is because Andrew and these guys are chiming on as well. And remember, they're out on a boat, so we don't have the luxury of having
Let's
great
bring
internet
them
the whole
right
time.
on. How
So
about birthdays,
t-
though? We'll do birthdays before that.
yeah,
Or
go ahead and
birthdays
get the
after?
birthday started. Yeah, and I'll get them queued up in the meantime because we can get that done as well.
Yes, guys. Sorry, we just have some great guests, and they're on a boat,
Yeah,
like Willie said, and perhaps their connection. So, anyways, on birthdays, we'll start off with my 81 class. Today, we only have one, and that's Joan McNary, who was born in Japan and moved to the Canal Zone. Happy birthday, Joan, from the class of 81. Moving on, the big contractor, Canal Zone contractor, Dean Homa. Happy birthday to you,
right
Mr.
on.
Homa. Kendra Merope, happy birthday. Her sister was last week.
Yep, Mira.
Ann Best, from a very beautiful woman, Ann Best. She's the mother of Dennis Cowles, one of the first quarterbacks that I ever coached.
Dennis Cowles,
So,
Greg Cowles, and Patty Cowles.
and Patty Cowles, right? They're Cristobal side,
Yeah,
Atlantic
they
side.
they they moved to the Pacific side probably when Greg was in like 10th grade. He's in my class of '86, and we were very tight when he lived in Los Rios because we didn't live too far away from you. He lived up when you went past the where where the maintenance shed was for the mowers, up that sidewalk. You get on the end of that side, and he was up there on that end of it. But yes, happy
Yeah,
birthday, Ann, for
yeah.
sure.
Right on, right on. And Dennis, hello, man. Good. I think he lives in Hawaii still. Well, Ramon
No, he's in
Igasa,
Texas now.
he's in Texas now. Ramon
Yes.
Igasa, happy birthday to you, Ramon, ex-Kiwani coach. Sandy
Hmm.
Rogers, happy
Yes.
birthday.
Birthday, Sandy.
Ruthie MacArthur, happy birthday, Ruthie.
Yes, happy birthday, Ruthie. Balboa Trading Company. Ruthie, again, I'm very sorry I haven't gotten back to you. My apologies. But
Oh,
I'll try
Ruthie,
and
look
talk to you
what I
this weekend.
just found.
There you go. Make sure you look them up, guys. Balboa Trading Company. They have
Will
some
he lose it,
awesome
man? Look at what he...
Mola tumblers there, man. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
this is
check
a
them
big
out,
one.
guys.
This is a big one,
Yeah.
Willie. Edith Barkowitz. Happy birthday
Oh,
to you, Edith.
indeed.
Well, actually, she's
Edith actually
tomorrow.
made me a birthday gift when she sent me this book. This is an amazing book, guys. Architecture of the Panama Canal Zone. I mean, look at how thick this thing is, guys. This is incredible. If you love
Big
all
and
that great
wide.
architecture that the likes of Al Sprague and Matt Tomlin have drawn and showed us here in the zone, that beautiful, very unique architecture, it's all right there, guys. So an awesome book. Thank you so much, Edith, and happy birthday to you for sure,
Yes,
man.
Edith, thank you. And she also sent me one, dude, by the way, Willie. So thank you, Edith. For your birthday, I
Nice.
got a present.
Yeah,
Right
no, for
on.
sure.
So happy birthday, Miss Barkowitz. Carlos Cambra. Happy birthday from Cristobal High School. John
Oh,
Alvarez. I know that name, so he's going to be around my age group. Oh, the very important Herb White. I don't know where I've seen him, but he's in charge of something big right now. And I can't recall what it was, but class of 87, happy birthday, Herb
yeah, Herb's
White.
a good guy.
Yeah. From La Boca, the beautiful Carlin sisters. Barb Carlin. Happy birthday, Barb. Bert Robertson, class of 86 with my little brother Roby.
Yeah, happy
And
birthday, Bert.
yeah,
Yeah,
Bert, right on, man. Pat Mug.
McCarriger.
¿Cómo la vaina?
Pat McCarriger.
McCarriger.
Lord have
I
mercy.
almost want to say, I always butcher some of these things.
He
Sorry, man.
does.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Pat, man, but happy birthday,
well,
Pat.
I worked on it a few times, though, you know. So
Yeah.
okay.
Joan Riley, happy birthday. I believe she was with the group from class of 88
Yep,
with my
Joanne.
sister's group last week. Yeah. And the
Who,
big
by the way,
Kenny
Joanne
Morris.
has become Joanne has become quite the photographer. She has become, especially a wildlife photographer, takes some amazing pictures. Kristen Udy has that travel agency, classic travel collection, and they organize some amazing trips. She actually did a safari more than once now. She's done it. They've also done some Antarctica trips, and
Oh, wow.
Joanne's traveled on those and taken some awesome pictures of Antarctica and of Africa and stuff, and she does of the wildlife here in the States as well. So really cool. Happy birthday, Joanne! And keep sharing those pictures because they're awesome. Good job.
Yep. Hey, listen, on the stuff that we were talking about, look at this, Willie. France Field was used for open car racing once a year. Right on, man. We never
Oh, how about that?
Atlantic Siders, they were really ahead on motocross,
They were.
car racing. They also
I guess you
those
had to because there's nothing else to do over there.
They also had those little the speedboat races over there. Remember, flat track was over there.
Yeah, flat track. I do remember that.
Were
Yeah.
always winners. Yeah, and then Leaf Soline actually raced. Leaf Soline actually raced in Albrook. Got first place in his class.
Oh, right
Remember
on.
Leaf had an American car. Remember the smaller American cars that was badass.
Yeah, the Monza.
No, it wasn't the Mazda. It was like
No, Monza.
Huh?
Monza. Monza. Monza.
No shit.
Yeah, it was in the chat. He's only said it 3 times in the chat. Him and Jill were having a whole thing about that car and doing some shit to it.
Monza. Well, listen, let's keep on going. Kenny Morris, happy birthday. Good friend of mine. Very, very popular, very well known, and a great human being, man. Kenny Morris, happy birthday. And to the great Marlon Melendez. What a fellow football player with me. And he's a good kid. Marlon Melendez, happy birthday to you. And for the last but not least on my list, the beautiful Julissa Guevara. Class of 86. What a Roby's
That's what he
friend.
said. She was St. Mary's and a BHS and everything. And then, of course, you always like to plug family wherever. So my niece, Samantha Lindgren up in Wisconsin, happy birthday to you as well. Love you and have yourself a great weekend. So,
Yes.
but anyway, guys, so listen, we're going to move things right along here because we've got some guests that are on standby. and they're on the high seas right now. So we got to be mindful of their time, and just to make sure that we don't have some pirate intervention or something, and all of a sudden they miss out on a fantastic show. So one of them, as you know, is Captain Andrew F. Tamitis, who's been on our show many times. He does our Panama Canal report, which, by the way, in 2 weeks we're going to have a next episode of that featuring our Gatun Locks Transit. We've got Jim Duffus has already said yes, he'll be joining us, giving us a perspective from the locks. And then we're looking for a marine traffic control person that'll give us their angle on this. And then finally, David Cohen, who I need to reach out to and confirm he'll be on. He's a tugboat captain, so he's going to give us that perspective of bringing that ship through the Gatun locks, what it takes from everybody's angle on the ground, on the ship, on the tugboat. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be really cool. But right now, Andrew's playing a different role. Andrew's role is he's still a captain, but tonight he's the captain of the Hypnotic. Okay, and as you saw earlier, I threw a promo video out. The Hypnotic made its way down to the Darien area, that remote eastern area of the country, that area that's been in the news so often. So he went down there today to take a very special passenger on, someone that's been giving us a lot of really heads up information on what's going on in the Darien jungle, as we know it, the Darien jungle, but apparently it's not so much of a jungle right now. Along with somebody that a lot of us know because of his amazing artwork, but he's also somebody very involved in all that, I don't know what you're going to call it, intel, I guess, of what's going on in Darien, what's going on in Panama. Of course, he was online several months ago when the whole Trump thing started with the Canal, and really, really had an amazing video and a great interview that a lot of people listened to and had a lot of well received. But anyhow, I don't think I can drag this intro along any further than this. But without any further ado, we've got three awesome guests with us. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We've got, again, from the Hypnotic, Captain Andrew F. Tamitis, his friend and our friend here on the show now, Michael Yon, who's a war correspondent, a former Army Ranger, and somebody that, in all honesty, guys, knows the Darien jungle better than, I guarantee, 90% of the Zonians out there. And then, of course, Matt Tomlin. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Welcome to the show. Happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. Good to see you guys, man.
Hi, guys.
Cheers to you
What
guys.
an honor.
No, the honor's all ours, man, to have you guys on. This I can honestly say is one of those shows that is really going to legitimize what we do here, because you guys are some heavy hitters. You guys are people that are known worldwide for many different reasons. So thank you so much. But let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with you, Matt. You stayed on the ground for this one, but what's your history with Darien? I've seen some videos with you and Michael in the jungles before. How did that all get started?
Yeah, to give you a little bit of background, it's probably good I give some background, and Michael can tie some of the geopolitical dots later. This show is not going to be a normal show, probably not that lighthearted and happy when I start talking about what we've been seeing down there in the last 4 years. So Michael and I have a very good mutual friend named Chuck Holton, and this was back in the Obama administration. The flow of illegal migrants coming through the Darien Gap started to increase back then. But, I mean, compared to what it turned out to be later, these were really small numbers, but it was alarming at the time. And Chuck was one of the first
I'm going to interrupt you for a brief second. I want to emphasize again, guys, we don't want to turn this into a political discussion. That's not the intent here. This is to inform us of what is being seen in the Darien jungle, what opinions people have, and opinions are strictly that, opinions. But there's going to be a lot of great questions out there in our group earlier online. We had a lot of great questions, but be mindful of that, guys. We know what political discussions can turn into, and that's not what we have here. We all are, for the most part, on the same side. So I just wanted to make sure we cleared that up before we got started any further. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So Chuck was one of the first guys to go down and expose what was going on. And at the time, it was quite shocking. And Chuck and I are good friends with Michael Yon, who's sitting there in the boat right there. And Michael is a very wise, encyclopedic fellow who knows a lot of stuff about these illegal weaponized migrant flows. That's what he calls them, and that's actually what they are. And
Right.
anyway, Michael asked me right when when Biden got in office, he invited me to go down as a driver with him and two congressmen, United States congressmen. There was Tom Tiffany and Burgess Owens and some of his staff. There was a big group of us, like 3 carloads of guys. And I thought, oh, Darien, all right, I'll go down and check it out. I was vaguely kind of excited, interested, didn't really know what was going on. Michael had already done some legwork, but Michael knew this was about to blow up down there when Biden got in. And so we drove down there. We went in a boat, 3.5 hours up a river to a small Indian village called Bajo Chiquito, which is the receiving town where when the migrants come out of the jungle, that's the first place they hit civilization. And it's hard to call it civilization, but it's the first place they walk out to. And keep in mind, this was almost 5 years ago. And when we got up there, I could not believe my eyes what was going on in Panama. And this was being done in the dark, in secret. It was being kept under lock and key so people wouldn't see it. And there were hundreds of migrants, mostly at that time Haitian and Cubans, pouring out of the jungle. They all had severe trench foot, bloody feet. People couldn't walk. And the Senefront guys were showing us photos of hundreds of bodies tangled up in tree trunks. There was so much death going on in that jungle at that time. The trail was much more raw, much more dangerous. These people were getting robbed and raped. Like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of girls were getting raped and abused. And it was just the most shocking thing I've ever seen. And I could not believe that in our little, quiet, humble Panama, this was going on. And it was definitely being kept quiet. And from then on, I had the privilege of working with Michael on a whole bunch of trips where we began to put together the whole picture, the whole puzzle, and it's a big puzzle. It's a big picture, and this is a huge problem because it's dragging in diseases that shouldn't be coming in. And let me rewind a little bit. The reason that people are coming through the Darien Gap, you have the Venezuelan problem, but Ecuador does not require a visa. So people from anywhere in the world can fly into Ecuador and start walking north. And for whatever reason, there are tons and tons of people that can't get any closer to the US. So that's where they start their journey. Right. And the whole thing is almost sold to a lot of these migrants like a tour package. And the cartels are all in on this, like just feeding off of it and fueling it. And the United Nations is completely complicit in all this. The IOM, HIAS, the Red Cross, many of these NGOs that are getting money. And it's interesting. They're finding this. Mainstream Americans now are starting to hear about this because of the Doge, where this money is going and how it's filtering through these NGOs. And it is all being done intentionally. That's what this is not random. And it's happening. Michael can tell you a lot more than me. It's happening all over Europe. It's happening all over the world. It is not random. It's on purpose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a great opportunity to bring Michael and Andrew into the conversation here. First, again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Andrew, appreciate you getting us on the air, not just from Panama, but Panama waters. He's out in the middle of the ocean there. So welcome, guys. Michael, great to have you on. And give us a bit of a background on what you've got going on here, how you got started with all of this, and then kind of piggyback off of what Matt's been telling us about this whole United Nations migration story.
You want to start? Well, before we get started here, I just want to say salute to everybody. This is an epic first for us here on live at the Balboa Yacht Club, live from sea, thanks to Starlink. We're about
Yes.
halfway between the Gulf of San Miguel to the southern ends of the Pearl Islands. We're now on our way to uh, San Jose Island, ETA about midnight, making about 10
Sure.
knots.
And
Winds.
let me go ahead and give you some perspective here when we get it on the map here. So the map that you're seeing here on the screen right now is. Hold on, Ricky, please. I know you're learning how to push buttons, but
What I
we're
do?
double
What I do?
clicking
What
here. Don't touch anything, por favor. Anyhow, so what we're looking at here, guys, is the Panama, what we knew of Panama, it's amazing to understand this country, especially when we grew up in the canal zone. It's really in that central part of the canal, and we didn't know much to the east of Tocumen Airport. We knew everything west, all the way out to heck, out to Costa Rica almost. But to the east, you can see that Darien is where you see that bay that's pointing straight east from those islands. That Andrew, that's the San Miguel River. Is that correct?
Well, the Gulf of San Miguel, where in 1513, our good friend Balboa saw the South Sea, or Mar Sur, as he called it, which ended up being the Pacific. Yeah, so halfway between that Gulf and Jose, that's where we're at right now, broadcasting live. We just picked up uh, Michael here. He was there in the Darien for the last 24 hours. And now we're heading pretty much due west, 270, with the speed of about 9 knots, winds out of the northwest at about 15 knots, and having a great time. And I'd like you to meet Michael Young. Take away, Michael.
I know. Hey, Mike.
Howdy from the Pacific Ocean. And it's amazing that I think the sound is probably good, even though it's very windy and you can hear the boat motor here. But this microphone is just amazing.
It really is because you sound crystal clear. We couldn't
Yeah,
tell that there was any
exactly.
wind out there, and your hair's
It's
not blowing
actually
all over the
quite
place, so we don't
windy.
hear about that.
Yeah, it's actually quite windy, and the motor is right here. It's amazing. The
Wow, good stuff.
yeah, new technology. But you know what's interesting is Andrew just said we're going about 9 knots now. You know that Balboa, that library that you've got down at the old Balboa High School that you guys went to, right? That
Right.
thing is awesome. I've been spending a lot of time in that library, and I found an old book in there that has it's 4 books that has people arriving in San Francisco in the 1840s and 50s, right? And so there was one of the clipper ships made it from Hong Kong to San Francisco in 33 days, and the average was 10 knots. So, and that was 1852. So in 1852, there was a boat going to San Francisco from Hong Kong that could outrun us, and and it had 553 Chinese on board.
I go
550.
figure that one out. They had them all paddling. That's why.
Can you imagine 1852, and that boat could catch us and board us right now?
Yeah, right. Run past you, man, and watch my wake, guys. So let me ask you something, Michael. Where did your interest in Panama get started? Because you this is not something that you're just now getting started, and we've just posted earlier on. We'll throw the banner up again if you guys want to check out Michael on his social media, on his Instagram. He's also on X and on YouTube. Does a lot of videos. Made a lot of appearances, but where did your Panama interest get started from?
Well, I look at issues globally. Whether it's in China where I've spent considerable time, or in Asia in general. I spent 19 years, another 6 in more than 6 in Europe, another 5 in the Middle East. I spent most of my life downrange in strategic, interesting areas, right? And
Right.
so when Biden was installed, I was in Washington D.C. with Masako Ganaha, who is sitting right here, and 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 we flew immediately from Biden's inauguration to Texas on the border because we thought that that the invasion would start on the border quickly, and it did. So we were with Chuck Holton then as well. So we flew with Chuck, or we met Chuck down in Colombia, and we went Masako and I and Chuck Holton. We went to the Darien on the Colombia side, right? So we took a boat from Nicocli up to Capargana, and then only just touched the edge of the Darien. We didn't go. It felt quite dangerous. It felt very dangerous. So we punched out of there and came back to the Panama side. But we all realized uh, that this was, Panama obviously is of strategic significance. There's a reason why, this place has been a point of contention for more than 500 years.
Right.
And I mean, the importance of Panama was not missed on previous generations, but it's only in this current couple of generations it seems to have kind of forgotten one of the most important things. Like, it's like forgetting to breathe almost, how important
Yeah.
Panama is.
Yeah,
And
I always say that ever since the Cold War ended, we were tired of fighting that Cold War for 50 plus years, and so we kind of took a nap when the wall fell down. But the world didn't take a nap, and everybody else took advantage of that, and they recognized that the U.S. right now is saying, "Hey, we're going to step back. We've been fighting, half of the world for 50 years," and that's when these guys took advantage of it, and man, did they take advantage.
yeah, like for instance, when we were focused on Iraq and Afghanistan, and not focused on things like this, Panama Canal, right? And not just Panama Canal, but Panama. I mean, the
Right.
Darien. I've told people like Mike Flynn numerous times. I think that between the canal, starting on the west side of the canal and moving over to northern Colombia, this is one of the most strategic places on earth. Not just the canal. The canal is obviously incredibly important, but also the Darien down here. They're opening a road down here. Now, some people don't believe that, but Matthew has seen it, and we were just at it again yesterday. That Matthew, you got to see that bridge now. I mean, the
Is it
bridge. I
coming?
mean, it was already big when you've been there several times, and it's these two bridges that they're building that are going in the direction of Colombia. They're exactly on like the old maps describe, how they would put a road through it. That's the way it's lined up,
Yeah.
straight to Pino Gana. And now they're saying it's for, carrying things like yucca, or it's going to open up El Real. You wouldn't
Yucca.
open up, yeah, yucca. And Matthew was there when the guy said yucca. They're building the bridge for yucca, and
This
so
this this bridge, mind
Just a
you, goes
love
to
of
a
yucca,
town
parent, a
that
massive love of yucca.
this
that's
bridge
got to
goes to
be
a
a
town that doesn't even have a car in it, and it's huge. I mean, it's highly suspicious. It's the biggest bridge to nowhere you ever seen, and it happens to be at the end of the line in Yavisa. And it does, as Michael said, it follows the basic route that the Army Corps of Engineers back in the 30s, whenever it was, that they had laid down to make that road go through. And there is no way, everyone denies it, but there's no way that road is not eventually going, that bridge is not eventually
yeah.
going through.
That's Yavitsa right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is, right there.
So you see that
Right.
footbridge in approximately the middle. You see the footbridge, the tiny
Mhm.
footbridge. We were on that yesterday, but the actual big bridge is just move to the left, and you.
Well, I think we got a bit of an interruption on the signal there. There you go. You're back.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of them. And again, like Matthew said, they don't have any cars out there and that sort of thing. But so I can send you better photos. Masako, can you send them the video of the bridge? Can you send them on Signal the video of the bridge? You'll see the actual bridge videos that we took yesterday. Actually, we
Okay.
had the drone up yesterday too, but we just literally got out of the jungle and got on the boat, and we haven't downloaded a lot of the stuff yet. But Masako got some of the video on the ground of the bridge yesterday. But one thing that's important, they're saying they're opening these bridges to two different villages down there. One's Pino Gana, and the other is El Real, right? And so the U.S. Army was down in Pino Gana a couple of weeks ago doing one of their, giveaway backpacks type stuff, which is quite interesting, actually, that they happen to be in that spot out of all places. I don't know what to think of that. But anyway, one of the things that's important, Matthew knows the Darien quite well. He's actually walked through the Darien Gap, and which I have not. I have not walked through the Darien Gap. Matthew has. And but Matthew knows the Darien very well. And as you know, Matthew, they don't have to build that bridge all the way to Columbia. Just getting across those two rivers, that
Yeah.
could shorten then they could skip those other long, harder routes over the mountains and then go straight through, because right there, that old map that you were talking about, that was, that's also the old trail that the Indians used to use. I found old drawings from the 1600s as well, and that's
Yeah.
exactly the way that they used to walk. And remember what Hernan said: first it starts with an ant trail. The next thing you know, you got like tanks going down it. And it might take a few generations, but so it's actually it used to be an Indian path. So it's where the mountains kind of end, and it's lowland. So if they even just get those two bridges going and don't open any more road, that would make the flow of the aliens coming through Colombia very easy. And then they're instantly on Highway 1, and
Right.
if you add a famine to that in South America or Africa, then you could have massive numbers. Keep in mind, during Biden's time, about 1.4 million people went through just the Darien Gap.
Yep.
That's what the Darien Gap
Without
was.
bridges and roads.
Yeah, exactly. That's the exclamation mark on that sentence. That's without. That's when it's extremely dangerous and difficult. Now, shoot, it's a bus ride,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it can become instantly.
Well, or even, I mean, you remember back in the day, we look in the news and they'd have these caravans that were heading up through Mexico, getting ready to reach the border. And they were tens of thousands of people all just walking in a group because they had a paved road to walk on. And so, even that, you're talking about an area that if you went over the jungle to do it, you're going to go on this way. You guys brought up something interesting earlier on about, this whole situation and where a lot of this is stemming from, because it's gone through several administrations in our country. So we can't, wholeheartedly say that it's one side of the political aisle or the other. This is something that's bigger, and it's originating from the United Nations and is it IMO or IOM is the organization behind this. But what's the story on that, and where that's really the driving force behind this?
Matthew can answer that as well as I can. So why don't you take it, Matt?
Well, over the years from that first trip that I went, we were seeing about, at that time, like 375 people a day on average coming out of the jungle into Bajo Chiquito, and we were absolutely just throttled by that number. We couldn't believe it, but it devolved. Just a little over a year ago, we saw days where 5,000 to 6,000 people a day were flowing out of this. And these NGOs are making millions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer money to make sure that this continues. And they're giving them extremely detailed maps as well as classes on how to get to the United States. The maps are so detailed, they cover every route between Panama all the way up through Mexico, which trains to ride on, where the border entrances are, all the safe houses along the way where they can look for shelter. They have the phone numbers, the contacts. These NGOs are feeding this entire thing. And I can't, Michael's better at giving a conclusion. I mean, you can only conclude that they are trying to destabilize the sovereignty of the United States. They're sitting there, and I'm really curious, Michael, to hear what you saw today up there, because it almost feels right now, because Trump has definitely stopped this by shutting the border, mostly for now. And the big question is, because it seems like all the infrastructure is being left in place down there, the camps, everything is there. I believe, and I think Michael believes this too, what we're seeing right now is only a temporary pause. And when you spend time down there, I mean, Panama and Costa Rica in all of Latin America are probably the only two countries in all of Latin America where people are not leaving to illegally go enter the United States. This is the last holdout here. And when you go down there, you get a temperature and a sense of the world, the hundreds of people we talk to, the most horrendous stories you've ever heard. And all of them are fleeing despot, corrupt governments that have run amok and you really get a sense that the world is coming unhinged everywhere. You get to take the temperature of the world down there, and it is quite scary, and it's dark.
Sure. Sure. If you think about
Overwhelming,
what these
actually.
people go through just to get
Yeah.
to the point of being able to cross the gap, right?
Yes.
Because it's not like these people aren't all originating from Colombia. They're arriving there, and then that's where the probably the more perilous part of the journey starts. But and earlier, Steve talked them through in the chat real quick. I'll throw it up real quick again. International Office of Migration is the IOM, and they have an office in Albrook. And it's true, if you look them up online, guys, this is not something that they're doing, behind the scenes. It's not something they're doing, on the hush hush. It is wide open. It is very much out in the open what they're doing. All of it there. Inform yourself about it and see what's going on here. And unfortunately, they're encouraging people to put their lives at risk, in order to push this migration movement. But Michael, like, as Matt was saying, your thoughts on this and the end game and that whole pause that we're talking about here.
I mean, it's clear. It's actually amazingly obvious for the few of us who study this 7 days a week, years on end, that they're trying to destroy the United States and the West and Japan as well. And so they're working very hard. And you can see weaponized migration. Look at Ireland, for instance. Ireland is really, in my view, has crossed the Rubicon, the demographic Rubicon. I don't think that they can be recovered. And likewise with, say, Luxembourg. Luxembourg is about 50%, about 50% migrante now, right? And Misako and I went and looked at Luxembourg. If you look on their own statistics, on their own Luxembourg official websites, they're dead. Luxembourg's dead. When I first went to Luxembourg when I was in the army, it was the jewel of Europe. It was the place where you would bring your family. Now, even at broad daylight, it's very dangerous. And we saw a car get broken into in the middle of town in the middle of the day, like right in front of everybody. Somebody just broke a window and grabbed something out of a car and walked off. Didn't even run. People were defecating on the streets in Luxembourg City. The same is happening in Sweden. This is a global. You can't understand what's happening in Panama without understanding the larger picture. Likewise with the United States, I've been across the entire U.S. southern border. It took months to do it. And I talked with so many Border Patrol. And there's a small percentage of Border Patrol that really pay attention. And they can really, talk about this in detail on a global perspective. But let's say 95% aren't paying attention at all. If you ask them, where do all these people come from that are crossing into Texas or Arizona or New Mexico or California? And most of them will say, well, it's the Mexican cartels or that sort of thing, or they're just migrating for a better life. They have no idea that there's an entire architecture that's doing this. Like that there's an entire multi-billion-dollar industry doing this. And with their stated intent in writing many times to destroy the United States and the Western Europe, and they're going after Japan as well. And we go to these places. In the last 4 years since Biden was installed, Misako and I went to 30 countries looking at it. 30 countries. And every one of those countries is either under attack or is one of the countries where the attackers are coming from. I say attacker, I mean weaponized migration, right? It's pretty serious. And this is one of the oldest weapons. There is another one of the oldest weapons is intoxicants, but which is being intoxicants, as you notice, have been, really pouring those out on the streets in the United States. When I come back to the United States, I smell dope everywhere. Every state I go to, I get in an elevator, it smells like dope. I walk down the street in front of the White House, people are literally smoking dope in front of the White House. Misako and I we were in Buenos Aires recently. We were there for a couple of months researching the same things, and there was a cannabis show. And it was quite corporate. I sent a lot of the photos to Matthew, actually. And that's a direct attack on using chemical warfare, if you want to call it that, or is it biological warfare or chemical warfare? At the end of the day, dumbing people down and getting them distracted and getting them hooked on the anything except what's going on around them. Is I
Right.
mean, you talk to Americans. If I say something bad about, let's say, marijuana, that's one that really gets people upset. They'll say, "What about liquor?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that too. They're using that too, right?" I mean, let's get to that
Yeah,
too.
you can have
But
both.
but when you mention if I mention the border and their bongs in the same conversation, the whole conversation goes to defending marijuana. It's
Right.
like the whole train, the inertia goes right. It's all about got to get my dope, got to get my dope. And I'm telling you what, that is a severe weapon. You get people like Joe Rogan gets on his show. I've been offered to go on his show, and I've been live saying I'm not going on a dope head show, that sort of thing, because I study war. War is what I do and what I study, right? And and he's literally smoking dope in front of millions of young people. And Elon Musk, why is he doing that? It's not because he's stupid. He's quite smart. It's not because he's stupid that he talks about drugs all the time, a lot about doing drugs and about how to do them and what you should do and that sort of thing, but not talking about why aren't we focused on the border and other issues that'll actually get us killed, like destroy the entire United States. I mean, he's an
Yeah,
operator. It's quite clear. And
there's
so,
there's a term that I've read about for years now, and looking into it, called nihilism, and it's really is a nihilism where you're in
oh, yeah.
essence eroding the moral code and the moral fabric of a country, and you see a lot of it. It's interesting how the dynamic has shifted with TikTok, for example, where at one point it was vilified by everybody, now all of a sudden there's a push to take control of it and keep it open or whatever the case is. But that's another one of these areas. To that same point, that's we're creating a situation where the things that made this country great we're scoffing at this point. We're eroding them away and getting rid of them so that it becomes easier to do things differently that are maybe easier, but ultimately does lead to that, like every other great civilization, ultimately collapsed. And I wrote something earlier in in, I guess you could call it a pseudo editorial, where if we have the ability to look back at history and the knowledge to change it, where maybe previous great civilizations didn't, right? Because they were too primitive to know what was coming and how to stop it. We have the means to change the direction that these things are going. And part of that, I think, is what we've done with Panama recently, and reestablish that relationship between the U.S. and Panama to hopefully, put a stop to that. So, Michael, let me ask you along those lines. Then, what do you see with regards to the new military installations, these new agreements, and is that enough? And what can that do to maybe prevent this pause from resuming in 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, the wind is so heavy, it's actually a little hard to hear you, but you can't hear the wind on my microphone, huh?
Not at
The
all.
You're clear. Good.
That's just stunning. And my speakers are turned up as loud as I can turn them up. But I think you're asking about the military returning to Panama. Is that what you're
Yes,
talking? Yeah, yeah.
correct.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I've told Mike Flynn that many times. I've told others close to Trump many times that I think it's a good idea. In fact, Alex Jones called me up today or messaged me while we were out in the jungle, and he wants me to go on tomorrow because at 11 o'clock, by the way, Central Time, I'll be on live because he wants because I have been right about the Panama Canal and the Darien flows, and so that's the reason I spent so much time in Panama. I just felt it in me bones, you might say, that this was going to be a war front. It was quite obvious, and so we the Panama Canal is so important to the United States, it might as well be like our kidney or something, or even more. And so, I mean, we can't afford to lose it. And I know how China operates. I've spent a lot of time in China. I've written 3 books about Chinese information war. Unfortunately, they're only in Japanese because I've been trying to wake up the Japanese for years, and so China. I watch what they're doing all over the world, and they're not coming here to just take the canal and do business. They're coming here to take Panama. And I've told quite a few people in the Panamanian government, including this week, China wants Panama. They do not want Panamanians. They will kill you. I've been to Tibet. They will kill every one of you. They will run you out of here, right? As soon as they have the critical mass, and if there's no big United States to help save you, they will genocide you. That's how they roll. They killed 50 million of their own people in a famine, of their own people in an intentional famine. Sorry about. Watch that computer, please.
Yeah, there's some cat-like reflexes there.
Yeah, yeah. Can you push that computer up? So I mean, they killed 50 million people in their own people by famine, and that doesn't include their civil war. I mean, they did. They went. The Chinese go hardcore on their own people and anybody that gets in their way. I mean, it's like termites, and they're very good at information war. And we're in a bumpy road. We're in a bumpy ship right now. The light just fell down.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good.
But the Starlink somehow, since it works at the speed of light. Listen, the Chinese cannot be. If they stay here, they'll end up taking Panama. I know how they roll. They
That is
roll.
correct.
Well, we've talked about that.
Just turn the light off and put it away. We're gonna break that light. We don't need them. I'll just go in the dark. And so, I mean, it's kind of bumpy, but that's the way it goes. So, I mean, we've got to get them out of here, and I mean, like, really shut them out. What they're doing right now, just in 2023, 25,000 Chinese came through the Darien. More than 25,000 came through the Darien Gap just in 2023. More than 550,000 people came through the Darien Gap just in 2023. About 1.4 million during Biden's time, right? That's amazing, and that does not include the flows that are coming through, Canada, Bahamas, through Mexico. A lot of Chinese go on vacation in Mexico first, and then they come in, and so we've been up to China. We've been up to Canada. We call it China now. I mean, it's like I gotta move. Masako, move this computer back. It's gonna blow off the table. Just shut it down or something. Yeah, I mean, it's getting pretty. Watch that camera. I mean, obviously, maybe we should switch cameras. But but we've been to Bahamas looking at this. We've been to Canada looking at it. We've been all over the world looking at this. They're doing it in Japan as well. A lot of people say the Japanese would never let this happen. That's completely false. The Japanese, because it's information war. The highest form of warfare is information war. It is by far the highest form. You know, we get people addicted to these stupid Navy SEAL movies. That's that much of warfare. It's a tiny speck of warfare, right? The big warfare is for the space between your ears, right? And the biggest tool to get that space between your ears is intoxicants, right? If you want to kill the critical mass of a population, you get them high, you get them drunk, you get them on this, you get them on that. You don't have to get them all. Every one of us watching this has had or has a drunk person or an alcoholic or a drug addict in their families. Every one of us watching this, I guarantee you, that was very destructive to the entire family and to themselves. And you don't have to get everybody drugged up. You only need one person in every house. That's like a hellfire missile through the roof, right? Because it's so destructive to the household. And our enemies do this. They know this. And so when I see people like, I call him Doper Joe Rogan, I start attacking them, right? Like, I'm not going to go on your show. In fact, I'm going to go on a million other shows. I'm going to talk with millions of other people on other shows, and I'm going to tell them what's happening. And so many of these people are completely captured, and like Elon Musk smoking dope in front of the whole crowd, right? And with Joe Rogan, right? What I'm getting to is we are in a state of war. It is a massive war. The most intense weapon is information war, hitting us with drugs, hitting us with alcohol, all sorts of things. And then people don't even pay attention when your countries just took in who knows how many millions. And a lot of them are clear military operators, like obvious Matthew's seen them. Matthew saw one Chinese threaten us down in the Darien Gap.
That's something we saw in the last year. especially pronouncedly, we saw these very wealthy Chinese, mostly all military-age men, literally, and they were very hostile, not friendly, and they were taking a totally different route by boat up the Cunayala, and they were going on a trail, paying the Colombian cartel coyotes a lot more money to take that route because it was a safer route, and they were almost coming through the trail looking fresh, like it was just no big deal, and that was really disturbing. And they were not friendly guys, and there was a lot of them coming. I saw someone,
and that's something that's been talked about a lot. That who we actually are bringing into this country. That are they really refugees fleeing a country, or are they being placed into the country and brought through there? And then outside of that, and kind of to piggyback off of what Michael was just saying, and this will be a nice little segue to next week's show, and plug Steve Talkerman's book about the drug smuggling, and we talk about all the fentanyl and everything else, and that's another big component there that you talk about having these roads built, and it's one thing to put a backpack on somebody and have them walk 50 miles to import drugs. It's another thing to fill the back of a tractor trailer and drive it up the highway all the way from Medellin all the way up to Brownsville.
I saw someone was asking in the chat. I didn't read the name. I apologize, but someone was asking about the environmental damage being done down there. And let me, I know most of this audience is from Panama. You cannot imagine how costly this has been for Panama. With the Darien is a red hot malaria zone now. This has been all dragged in. I am surprised yellow fever hasn't made a return. They are dragging in this goes all the way up to the United States. They are dragging multitudes of diseases, and me and Oscar Blue and Ben Berkwam, we have gotten multiple times so sick down there with stuff. I thought I was going to die, man.
I mean, we all know the history of the canal construction and the yellow fever malaria, and how we learn it's transmitted through mosquitoes. So if you have 1,000 people coming through your city and they get bit by mosquitoes, a week later, everybody in the path of that caravan is now susceptible to getting bit by those mosquitoes, which now spreads that infection.
Inside the trail, because I've gone through this trail. So what happens is the coyotes in Colombia tell all the migrants, no, don't worry, you'll be through in a day. It's a short trip. And so they buy this little package, and they literally give each coyote gives them a different, like Disney World bandage where they put it on their hands, different color coded. If you don't have one of those, you're getting robbed and raped, guaranteed. So they go in.
Oh, those are your protection bands.
Yeah, but they don't. So the coyotes don't let them know that it's a horrific, serious trip. So these people go walking in with suitcases. They think they're in an airport, like they're going to get right through in a few hours.
Right, there's a nice little path cut out there to walk through.
And they get up to the top of the first hill after Akandi is called the Mountain of Death. And it is a mountain of death. I've been to the top of it. And they literally, at that time, they cross into the Panamanian border. And that's when the coyotes tell them, goodbye, we can't go in there, see ya. And they didn't know that was going to happen to them. And that's when the real bloodthirsty, horrifying journey.
That's when reality hits them.
Yeah, that's when reality hits. And you will see people. Everything is wet all day long. There's no dry season in there. It has its own climate. I went in the middle of February of last year, one of the strongest El Nino years we've had, and it was raining like heck the whole time. And I've had multiple migrants comment to me that my hair was so heavy, I wanted to cut it off. And so what they do is they just start ditching everything they own.
Sure.
And there are parts of the trail where you're walking on like 4 feet thick of toothbrushes, combs, clothing. There's like 100,000 metric tons.
Right. Well, there's no such thing as a cleaning crew.
There's 100,000 metric tons of garbage in there, and all of the dead bodies in the rivers. People are defecating in the rivers, and all of the dead bodies. Now you do not want to drink the water, the public water in Meteti. It's actually really dangerous. And these people, They don't have water filters. They're literally drinking that water
Sure.
straight out of the rivers, and people are getting, we've seen people with horrific parasites, these crazy stuff. So they come out into the Panama side, and Panama's smart about this. They know they're going on to the United States, so they immediately contain them. They don't let them stay in Panama. And they call the whole program, the U.S. Embassy calls it controlled flow. They're just controlling this massive flow to go straight up to the U.S. Panama feeds them each 3 meals a day. They give them medical attention for free. It's a huge expense for Panama. And in the meantime, the Darien Gap, this UNESCO World Heritage Site, is being utterly, completely destroyed. And the other thing, most Panamanians don't know about the Darien, like, because Panamanians in general don't go down there. Like you were saying, we didn't go down there as kids. Nobody
does.
There.
Anything past the airport is unknown land for everybody.
Yeah, and they are stripping the entire forest out of there. All you see is giant logging trucks all day long. And people tell us down there that it's all going to China. And it's really sad. The whole thing is just a giant mess. That's all I can tell you.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that whole logging piece, and we saw one of Michael's previous videos when you guys went out to visit the first time. When you were walking, when that bridge was early in construction, which is when Michael was joking around about how this is really for Yucca, and this is a massive bridge, of course, where 100 Yucca trucks or horse-drawn carriages could pass over it. But Michael, talk about what that will do to that environment when you have a highway there, because right now you're already starting to see a problem with the logging that's going on, and it's not easy to get that out of there. But if you can run a highway through there, it's a piece of cake now. What happens to this pristine forest there in 5 years? What happens to those woods out there, Michael?
They can take the rest of the jungle.
Yeah.
And with the size of those bridges, I think that's part of the intent.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, once that Darien Gap is open, Panama is defenseless. Panama is naked except unless the United States comes to help. I mean, Panama can be destabilized as well. And Matthew and I were in a meeting, I don't know, 3 years ago or something, talking with Centerfront people, and we told them, look, they're sticking to the pipes here too. You know what I mean? They're not.
Yeah.
Not right now. It looks like the pass-through country, but I guarantee you're on the menu. They're coming to take Panama. Again, I want to repeat that again as loud as I can in front of every Panamanian. They're not coming to take Panama and you with it. They're coming to take Panama without you. They don't want you. They want it to be Chinese. They're very clear about it. And again, I've seen what they've done in Tibet. I've been up there. I've seen what they've done in a lot of places. I was in Hong Kong when they took that. You know how they took Hong Kong? They took Hong Kong by doing incremental migration. So the Chinese, the mainland Chinese would move in, Mandarin speakers would move into mostly Cantonese speaking Hong Kong. And then over the years, they just filled up the bathtub. So now you've got a lot of teachers, professors, policemen, politicians, and they're teaching in school that children shouldn't speak Mandarin.
Yeah, they erase the culture.
They should speak Mandarin and not Cantonese. Yeah. And so that's a soft genocide. And then there's, they were putting people in prison for writing things. And anyway, that's how they rolled. And so they slowly fill up the bathtub. There's an intense information war in Panama, but in some of the most intense information wars, you don't even notice it.
Correct.
It's like you're being poisoned with glycol every day in your food or something, Next thing you know, you're
it's interesting that we know from the 70s and 80s, for example, was a time, and even the 60s, where Latin America, especially Central America, there was a lot of destabilizing going on. There's a lot of Marxist forces going in there. The one country that didn't have that was Panama, simply because of the American military presence there. And so, to that point again, you open up a highway now where you really can infiltrate, because we know in South America there's some long-standing Marxist groups there that have decades of being around, and they're not going away. And a lot of those guys, I truly believe, just the same way that Venezuela is, there's a lot of money being pumped in by China to those people to build up that exact force that you're talking about. You look at that deep water port in Peru. There's an access for a lot of military equipment from China to move in that direction to again contribute to that stability issue there. Let me ask you guys, what happens 3 years from now, 4 years from now? I mean, obviously, we're asking for a crystal ball here, but you know, is the strategy now with the U.S. to get involved militarily strong enough that starts to become maybe some kind of a deterrent to open up the country? What are your thoughts on that, Michael? You go first. What are your thoughts on the next 3 or 4 years?
Well, I think they're going to end up opening the gap to massive invasion. I think first several things. One is there's the United Nations is not being dismantled or defunded. It's just not happening. And maybe it'll happen in the future, but it's not happening now. And without that, all the rest is just show. It and with that road now, specifically talking about Panama, when that road is built to Colombia, and they're clearly building it, I mean that's very significant because the flows won't just come over that road; they'll keep making trails off of it in more and more
Of course.
intense ways because that's just the way this goes. The circulatory system will grow, and it'll grow at an ever increasing rate. And that beautiful jungle is being destroyed right now. We saw trees coming out on the back of trucks yesterday and today.
And
So
and,
I
and
mean,
that's and I mean that's history. Since the beginning of time, travel routes. And I mean, look at in Panama, certainly closer to what we had in the zone, the Las Cruces Trail. That was there for hundreds of years because when you have a transportation route, it 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 survives the passage of time and it is constantly used. And that's something again in your Substack recently, Michael, you were talking about that you have these transportation arteries that have been used forever and ever, and now all they're doing is really upgrading those and making them more accessible and make it to where you can move a lot more, a lot faster. And that's where that becomes down the road a big problem for all of us here. Matt, what are your thoughts on that? You again have that experience in the Darien there. You know, how much time are we looking at before you have basically open travel from Medellin to Balboa?
Michael said the key thing, the most important thing in this entire conversation right there. As long as the United Nations is not dismantled, we're in dire trouble. That is a satanic organization, in my opinion. They're not just evil; they are straight up satanic at their roots. And even what they're doing, it's biblical. They are trying to
Andy,
dissolve national
Andy,
sovereignties all
Andy,
over the world. And
Andy, can you
the
take this for a
Bible
minute?
tells us when that happens,
Andy,
Antichrist is coming. And this
take
this
over for a minute. I
this
need to stand up.
this whole globalist what they're doing, they've got to be stopped. And it's very discouraging and disappointing that Trump has not defunded them.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think he's not serious. Like, because if I was president, that would be day one. I would cut off. These people are destroying America with your taxpayer money. That's literally what they're doing. And all these NGOs here in the City of Knowledge at Clayton, all of them, so many of them are down there in the gap. They're in on it. And what we're seeing right now, even though the migrant flows have mostly stopped, everything's in place. The camps are there. They're fully staffed. You see all the NGOs going to work. All their tents are there. It's almost like they're just waiting for Trump to go away.
Staying
And the
in
next guy
practice.
gets in and bam, it's going to be,
Yeah.
and
It's
what's
almost like
happening,
run
you
the
talked
engine
about
one time every
roads.
day so it doesn't go bad. Keep that
Exactly.
engine
And what
running
you
so when
talked
it's ready.
about roads, that trail 4 years ago, the rate of death now, people dying on that trail is much lower. It's becoming a mini road, and they're getting through a lot faster. People aren't getting lost for 15 days out there, which was the norm 4 years ago. Now they're just getting through it like a strong guy can get through in 3.5 days if he's really fit and doesn't have any trouble. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but it doesn't. To me, the future looks quite bleak. that they're not going in there and barbed wiring off and blocking all those trails and dismantling the camps. And it just seems like they're waiting for Trump to go away to me.
Well, hopefully, with all these new jungle warfare schools and troops down there, maybe a little more intel from their own people may spur them to move,
So
and maybe take some action.
you think that because they're all through the Biden administration, the U.S. military, we worked extensively with Centerfront down there, and there's constant special forces guys down there all the time, and the U.S. has completely turned a blind eye to the whole thing. We watch Mayorkas come down. He gives this huge speech, how this is horrible, it must stop. And literally the same, like weeks after he leaves, we see all this money, U.S. money, getting poured into building up the San Vicente migrant camp. Like they invested a ton of money to make it twice the capacity. The whole speech, everything he said was a straight up lie. It was all nonsense. There's active military deployed down there all the time, but unless they have orders to stop it, they're just going to turn a blind eye to it.
Correct.
And that's that. If they're not given orders to actually stop it, yeah, I can tell you stories like this guy, Oscar Blue Ramirez. Everyone should follow him. He's a Mexican journalist, good friend, Michael and I, a really good guy. He followed multiple caravans. He walked with them all through Central America up into the United States. And Venezuela.
And what's his name again?
Oscar Blue Ramirez. Oscar Ramirez is his name. He goes by Oscar Blue. He's a Mexican journalist, really great guy to follow. He knows more about migrant flows in Latin America than any human alive, probably. And he followed an entire caravan up to the United States that were all Tren de Aragua guys, literally released by Maduro from the prison and told go to the U.S. And they caused rapes, pillaging, robbery. They had a huge riot. He filmed the whole thing in Mexico. They were throwing rocks at him even. And all these people, like 2 years ago, they're all living in the States long since. They all walked in.
Wow.
Yeah. So Venezuela is emptying out its barrios. These are the most desperate, and you feel bad for a lot of these people. I don't mean to be heartless, but the other big lie that you see is all through the trail you find hundreds of cedulas and passports that are discarded on purpose. They litter the entire trail. Because these people want to get to the States and claim that they're seeking asylum. Their lives are in danger. And these people are economic migrants. They are just going there looking for the buck. We met so few actual asylum cases, like maybe one in 1,000.
And that's a great point to bring up, Matt, because that is something when it comes to the asylum laws, that seeking asylum for economic reasons is very clearly articulated that it is not allowed. That unfortunately, if that was the case, virtually every country in the world would be eligible for asylum because we out economic everybody in the world.
Yeah.
So it would make sense even developed countries, you would make more money in the U.S. and therefore that's not a reason for asylum, unfortunately, is to get a better job. So
these people really are coming because they know the border's open, period. If I can walk in, why not? And you know, the other amazing thing is we found, and these people are being given by the United Nations. They're being given debit cards when they get to the States with cash on them. No joke. And we found so many Venezuelan cedulas of Venezuelans who lived in Brazil for many years. You could see their stamps and their passports.
Right.
They'd already long left Venezuela. They had jobs in Chile, in Peru.
Yes.
But they heard.
They weren't being persecuted anymore.
Yeah, the news, like Michael always says, if you put out the corn, the ducks will come. And the border, the announcement that the border was open, that brought everyone up there. That's all they need to hear.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, let's switch gears real quick here. Andrew, your thoughts now on the news that has broken out with the military bases, and now they're mentioning Rodman there. And I know we had talked about that before when you were on the show, that Rodman was the one base that had the refueling capability, and that's why that was such an important base. What's the talk now from the Panama Canal and the pilots and everything regarding that? And then a secondary question is now the new priority for U.S. Navy ships and free, no tolls. So, what's your thoughts on that? What's the take in Panama on all that?
Yeah, well, a lot of interesting developments there with the Secretary of Defense's visit, which which was some statements that he made were very interesting. First statement made was first and free, which sounds like to me like uh, like a punchline for advertising, first and
Right.
free, you know. But let's be clear on the first part of that. First meaning, just so that everybody's understanding what that means. First meaning priority transit, which is a benign topic because we've been doing that in the canal for the last 25 years, and it's been done by the book, by the numbers, and epically done. Uh, the uh, the U.S. Navy and U.S. government ships have enjoyed priority transits for the last 25 years. Nothing new. And, it's been done by the book, and it's been done effectively, and it's been done safely. So that's nothing new. Now, the new part, which is interesting, and I don't have any information on it, is the free part. But we can
Okay.
talk about historically free, um, the Colombian Navy and Costa Rican Navy, which also is outlined in the um, neutrality treaty, which talks specifically about Costa Rica and Colombia. And it mentions that their warships will transit for free. When they're talking about free transit of these vessels, from what I understand, is they don't pay any tolls, but they will pay for uh, tangible items like tugboats, pilots,
Correct. All the
locomotives.
ancillary fees.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, so that, and it makes sense. And me personally, strategically, the canal uh, needs the income to maintain operations.
Sure.
So strategically, you don't want to cut back on things that keep it
Of
working.
course. Of course.
And
Now let me ask
that's
you:
yeah.
is it for just military warships, Navy ships, or is it for any American flag ships?
No, from what I understand, it's the gray holes and U.S. government bottoms, which would include, the government contracted vessels, any vessel that is under the U.S. government control, which
Gotcha.
includes a lot of people don't really. It's quite a variety of ships, which includes the Coast Guard, which includes prepositioned ships that carry like uh, a whole the equipment that the Marines use, that the Army uses, all
Of
that
course.
equipment are on ships. So it includes those kinds of vessels. It includes chartered vessels that are used by the government for different operations. So
But
there's
but a,
quite a
but a standard commercial vessel that's just running freight to or from the United States, even if it's an American flag carrier, as long as it's not running freight for the government or the military, it's still going to pay tolls like anybody else. It's just another
Well,
ship going
that's
through
a
the
good
canal.
point, and they need to be able to define that clearly, so that no shenanigans is going on. Like you're carrying one helicopter on board. Oh, we get
Right.
priority. You know,
Sure. Yeah, it's not
because
really a military shipment after all.
yeah. So those things need to be defined, and that's why it's good to take your time with, especially when you're dealing with money, different types of ships or cargo, their roles. That all needs to be clearly outlined. This is a new chapter in the U.S. policy, Panama U.S. policy, and we'll have to see how it works out. And as far as U.S. security goes in the canal, um, I've written a document that talks about the Panama Maritime Initiative, which specifically outlines things that need to be addressed in the region, in the canal security, in the Panama waters, and it outlines, uh, coincidentally, Pier 3, which has always been on my list of things that I
Yeah.
found amazingly need to be refurbished. That pier has been in disrepair for over 20 years. There's, you know, they made a very nice speech there last week, or the defense secretary.
And
But
which is Pier 3 for those that aren't familiar with the pier setup?
yeah, Pier 3 is the one furthest north of the three finger piers in Rodman that face basically east west. The third one, the furthest one south, is owned and operated by Sanam. And that pier, like you mentioned before, Will, those piers were Navy piers originally, and they do have direct bunkering lines, and it's connected to an underground system of massive proportions that could fuel back then in the day an entire fleet. Um,
Oh wow.
you know,
Okay.
and those, you all know where those bunkers or where those storage tanks are. They're underground, but on the way to Irahan, they're on the left side. I don't know if you all recall that old police station just
Yeah.
beyond.
There was a fence around it too. I remember that. Those.
There was a
And
what?
then
Interesting.
during Just Cause, the Panamanian forces came through there.
Yes, there was a shootout in there. A guy got killed actually
Yeah.
during Just Cause. Something happened
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Something happened there. I
Interesting.
remember that.
Interesting. And then now
But
let me ask you, Andrew, on another note. Then the other situation with the ports that recently got cleared up was this lawsuit preventing the Corzal port from being built, and apparently now that's been settled. What can you tell us about that? And is the Corzal port now going to be built?
yeah, to be honest, I'm not familiar. I haven't kept abreast of the port developments or watching it. But a lot of there was a lot of flack on that port. You know, that would be a danger and hamper to canal operations, including, I think, the Pod Association mentioned it. You know, and it does have some merit, of course. You know, that canal traffic would be uh, impeding in that area of operation. It's just too tight of a maneuver to develop something there. But um, they are the canal is looking to expand every uh, avenue of transport materials, like we were talking about before, for LG, uh, oil pipeline, expansion of the railway, uh, some ports within canal waters,
Might be some pirates in the area.
aside from Corzal. I was looking at some development there, maybe on the West Bank. So we'll just have to see, you know, how the new bridge construction goes, what land is left over, you know, how that all plays out as far as port access, port construction. It's not simple. It's not simple putting a port together by any means, especially with the dynamics of running the canal. You have to keep that in mind and play a very strategic and careful balance between the ships transiting and vessels accessing the ports. But going
Sure.
back to
Interesting.
Pier 3, I want to talk about Pier 3 a little bit, because it's one of the things I mentioned in my initiative, is that that needs to be developed. It's a great opportunity to share berthing um, for visiting ships' navies, um, where some interesting cooperation between Western navies or navies of the Caribbean or South America that can come and participate in canal defense issues. And it's the you know the a ship is a great tool for distributing. You know, of course, power projection, number one, but number two,
Sure.
you know, goodwill visits and a potential site of revenue for the local Navy to provide bunkering services, to provide provisions, and even just berthing revenue. But what I wanted to mention was the pier was refurbished, new fendering, but one item that remains to be completed is water alongside. There is no water there, so that's something that needs to be looked at as far as dredging uh, there in the future. But at least they have the right foot forward on developing that pier and providing it to be a useful asset uh, in the future operations.
Right on.
And
And you guys, I just threw it up on the screen as you can see. So the pier we're talking about, guys, is the one on the left side of the image there. You see three of them stacked. It's got, looks like two, maybe three ships on the end of that pier. Is that the one? Is that number three there? That's the
number three
Rodman
is the
pier
last one to the bottom. Last one
to the
to the
bottom.
bottom.
Perfect. Okay. So there you go. And let me see if this, it has some pretty good resolution there. So this is the
There you
one
go.
that's considered the the one that has the capability of bunkering or refueling Navy ships, which is why the Navy is looking at that one as part of their takeover. Now, if they're talking about the Rodman base being either reopened or being reused, does that not include the other two piers, or how's that going to work? You think?
All right, let's look at that picture there. I want to show you what the current today's Vasco de Balboa. Zoom back in there if you don't mind. They refer to as the Balboa Naval Base. They renamed it, but everybody knows it as Rodman. And let me show you what's left of it. What's left of Rodman is just a sliver of what it used to be. So let's start at the main gate where your cursor is, right
Okay.
there. Come in, go down. Yeah, right up, go up. Yeah, right there's the main gate. You come in through there, and
Make that
everything.
right.
Yeah, there you make that right. Go there. That is what's left of the Sanam Pier. The main building on the left, and the support facilities on the right. That's it. And
Where those red roofs are.
their boathouse to the end. Everything to the north of that is private. Yeah.
Ah, okay, okay. So it would just be then this pier and this little stretch of land here that they could probably put in maybe some barracks or whatever else they need, and that would be
Exactly.
their
And
base.
there's that green area to the south. They can
Right.
probably
Yeah. So there's a little room there for development as well. And then, of course, as you can see down here, where exactly on this is the new bridge going? Because this, I guess, is a
so
little
you
bit
see that
dated.
right there. That. All right. Go out from there. There you go. Right there's a start. So what are they building right now? Is the two main columns. And so if you go east from that pier, go east right to about there. Oh, you went too far. That from that pier is filled in all the way to about halfway to the channel, right about there.
Wow.
That's all filled
Wow.
in.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Interesting. So they've filled out in just the land basically, and then they're going to build on top of that and put the. Now, is the tunnel going to go right under that as well, or off to the side, north or south of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. From what I understand, the tunnel is just to the north of just right under that area.
Okay.
But a little bit offset. I don't think it's directly under the bridge. I don't
Yeah,
believe.
that would make any sense. There's a lot of weight
Yeah.
to put on that.
Yeah, so the main piling is right where your cursor's at. Go back a little bit, uh, but a little bit further north, just a touch. Right there. And then the
Okay.
other piling, go over to the east bank and go north a little bit to where Pier 6 is. You see that ship?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the right.
Okay.
Now go up north. Right there. That whole area is going to be the second main pilot, main right there.
Interesting. Is it going to impact that pier that's on the end there?
No, it's not going to affect that.
Just south of that.
Well, just to the east of it, really.
Okay. Okay. And if you guys are wondering what that is, here's Laboca over here. Here's what used to be the old printing plant, or as we learned last week from Dave Dahlstrom, that used to be the Laboca commissary when this was the Silver Laboca. And then, of course, that road down here would have gone to the Thatcher Ferry back in the day. So interesting how that all has taken place. It's my understanding they're taking down some of the side of Sosa Hill and its backside as well, aren't they? To get the elevated road to go through there?
Exactly, and it's interesting, that the bridge is going to come off the main supports and then make a big long turn to the left to go around Sosa Hill. And I'm no engineer or anything, but I don't know why they didn't make a straight shot. But maybe they don't want it to encroach the area to the south of the shipyard for some reason. So
Interesting.
it goes straight into the old MTC parking lot, and then it goes to the center of Sosa Hill and hooks a left.
Okay, this is right here, the NCC parking lot right here we're talking about, right?
Yeah, a little to the south. Go to the south. Right there is where the next piling is going.
Oh, so it comes onto the land here, it goes
Yeah,
there, and this is where it makes the
straight,
turn.
and
And
then
then there
makes
it
a
turns.
left turn. A left turn. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Oh, that's going to be traffic jam. Oof.
Now let me ask you this, and I'm not sure how much of this you'd be privy to as far as timelines go, but for this upcoming 2026 Canal Zone reunion in Panama in January, one of the things that's becoming really iconic as part of that whole event is everybody sitting up on the pier here at the Yacht Club and taking that drone picture with the Bridge of the Americas, or the Thatcher Ferry Bridge, as Leaf likes to call it, is the backdrop. How long is it before we have the backdrop of the new bridge, or even the construction, before it takes out that iconic view?
Yeah, but I bet you in 2026 of January, you might have the beginning of the pilings. That's my guess. You might
Okay.
have those pilings heading skyward, because
Right on.
I can't say much about bridge construction because I can't remember the last bridge I put together. But I would guess that would be the next phase after the installment of the foundation of where the
Sure.
pilings will go. Would be the next thing to put those pilings up. So we might see the two skyward main pieces just beyond the Thatcher Ferry, the Bridge of the
Interesting.
Americas.
Interesting. At least you'll have the view of the Bridge of the Americas in front. That'll be in the foreground. But if that's something that you guys are really looking to try and do, then make sure you get down to the reunion this year, because guaranteed the 2027 one, you will have some kind of a bridge behind you there, or at least some remnants of it. So definitely keep an eye on that. So, but listen, guys, hey, it's been awesome. We've kind of hit that moment in time here, but I don't want this to be the only episode that we have of this kind. Matt, you're always welcome. Andrew, you join us for our Panama Canal reports periodically anyway, so we know we always can count on you to join us. Michael Yon, if you're still hanging around there, you're always welcome to join us as well. Again, really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us. That's a really big deal for us, man. I think we're very fortunate to have somebody that has that kind of stature and recognition around the world to join our show. It's I'm humbled, So thank you so much, guys, for
Yeah, we're gonna have to get moving. You guys, we just crossed the threshold here of the wind has been blowing 23 knots.
Wow.
23 knots. I got both sails out. Join us on the Hypnotic, guys. Here we are making almost 9 knots. Both sails out.
So where are you in relation to the big islands there?
All right, come down to Galera.
Is that this little one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, now go up about half a centimeter. Right there. That's where we're at.
Okay. Look
And
at you.
right there.
Yeah, you see? Look at that.
And we're about ready to go into the shadow of Isla del Rey. which is what my strategy is to have a nice cookout in that bay right there, which is called Bahia de San Elmo. Bahia de San
Nice.
Elmo, right there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and if you all recall, to the right is that island of San Elmo, and on the north side of the island is a submarine. Perhaps David can tell you more about it on his next thing. The submarine. You zoom in there, you might be able to see it. It's right on the middle of the north side. That submarine was put together for the. It's on that beach to the right. Yeah, somewhere right there. It is a little to the left. It was
Okay.
put together. That piece of rust right there in the middle is the sub, I think. You see that? Oh, that's something on the screen. Anyways, that sub was put together for the Civil War,
Oh wow.
and then they brought it down for pearl diving operations in Panama after
I'll
the
have to look
Civil
it up,
War.
man. That's going to be an interesting story to find out about. That's cool, man. So, well,
Yeah,
cool.
has
Well, listen
anybody
again.
seen it? Yeah, you could look it up. It's in rusted, bad shape, but it's an interesting
Right.
piece of history. So
Yeah,
we're
we'll have
gonna
to look
go.
that up. That'll be up for our next Q&A with our Canal Zone
Yeah,
historian Dave Dahlstrom to show us what that's all about. You know,
so we're gonna go
but
anchor over there by the town of Esmeralda. And interesting enough, if you go ashore there, they still have pearls. You can find they sell pearls in that
wow.
little town further south,
Oh,
right,
yeah, okay.
right where the elbow goes in. Keep going north, right in there.
Oh, there it
There it
Right
is.
up
is.
there.
There it
Yeah,
is.
right there.
How about that? Look at that. Never even realized there's a town there. How about that? That's cool. So you just anchor right off the shore there in the town,
Right.
and
Yeah, to find a nice comp spot.
very cool.
All right, we're going to be anchoring in a calm area in about an hour and a half, so we're going to chill out here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you listen. You guys can always find Captain Andrew. He's also on Instagram, showcasing all his adventures out there. Again, Matt Tomlin. You know, you can find him, Becky and Matt Tomlin, on Facebook. He just I saw a video. I don't know if it was recent or not, but you were sketching out a ship going through the canal, and then you were painting it and everything. Really awesome. I love watching you do those videos because it's it's one of those things that if you're not an artist, it's just amazing to see somebody bring something to life that is nothing but a piece of paper, and then just a few paint strokes later, it's like, wow, it's. I mean, kudos to you,
Thank
man. What
you.
a great
Thank you
talent to
so
have, man.
much. You're so
Yeah, no,
kind. Thank you.
no, I love watching them. Keep sharing those, and love to see that stuff. So, but again, guys, listen. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank
Very,
you.
very informative show. A lot we learned about Darien, about the world in general, and then of course we just learned a couple of cool things about these islands here from Andrew. So again, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Matt, thank you again so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us. Listen, anytime you want to come and talk about your painting, please join us. We had a great, great visit with Al Sprague last year. We'd love to have you on and showcase all your amazing talent out there. So you
Thank you,
always have an open
guys.
invitation to join us.
You're doing amazing work. Thank you. I'm very honored. Thank you. God bless
No,
all you
no,
guys watching. I see Zonian names popping by, and it's nice to. I've forgotten some of these old names, and I'm happy to see them. So it's an
yeah,
honor.
no, it's that I'll tell you that's something we talk about as being a really fun part of this show is saying hello to all of our audience out there because they do take the time to not just watch the show but take the time to chime in and say hello and that makes our day. So we're
Likewise.
happy to have that and like I said, happy to have you guys on. Have an awesome weekend. Andrew and Michael, thank you for joining us from the high seas in Panama and the Darien jungle. A really, really cool learning experience. Enjoy your weekend, guys, and we will have you guys on shortly again.
God bless. Bye.
All
Right on,
right.
guys. Thank you
Take
Bye.
care,
very
Matt.
much.
See you guys.
Bye.
Absolutely. Dude, that was awesome, Ricky. Man.
Willie, I have a lot of respect, Willie. You set this whole thing up. You worked it really hard. You found the guy. You got him to come on. Respect, my friend. Good job. Good
Well,
job.
and that we got to thank Andrew. Andrew's the one that put Michael Yon in touch with me several weeks ago, actually, and then of course he's got the relationship with Matt, who we've talked to Matt on other occasions anyway. So it kind of it worked really well, and especially learning all this really cool history of Darien and to find out what's going on there, and you know, of course, it does take a bit of a political leaning, and that's not the intention here. It never is, but it's still information. It's good information to know about what we have here, what we're looking at in the future.
Yeah,
You know,
and
and
the
it
importance of Panama. People
right,
have, I feel like Panamanians don't know the importance of their. I mean, they do know, but they don't know the level, how important it is to the world. I mean, they do know, but I guess with what's going on in Panama, it's
yeah.
that level. It's that level of importance that I feel people are not connecting the dots and
Sure.
understanding of how.
And certainly the last 3 months, it's been front and center. I mean, like you said earlier on the show, I mean, the whole world is watching the Panama Canal in Panama now, watching it intently, right? Because, the trade that goes through the canal, although we talk about, 70% that goes to or from the United States, but there's a ton of trade between Asia and Europe that goes through the canal. There's a ton of stuff going through South America. We've always known about the free zone in Panama being gigantic because it really has a commercial shipping opportunity. These tariffs now are creating massive opportunities for Panama to be that transit place for countries that may want to avoid these larger tariffs. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities for shipping and port operations and whatnot. And then now, of course, as we've heard this week, the United States is going to come back into Panama. To what extent, we don't know how that's going to play out, but it's going to be interesting. And as Ricky said earlier, we're going to be taking a lot of that information to another place moving forward, because again, our show, although this one certainly was the focus was Darien and certainly a lot of geopolitics, but we know that the crux of this show really is the remember this, remember that, and so we're going to go back to that. We don't want to lose focus of that, because that's really what a lot of you guys. The feedback that we get is that puts a smile on your face, just remembering the Balboa Theater and Balboa Stadium, Amador Beach, and Gamboa, and all those wonderful places. So lot of fun to keep going over that stuff and keep reminiscing that. So that being said, we're going to transition over on Saturday nights. Not sure quite yet when, but hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get something up and running. But that show will have more of that angle to it, a lot of Panama news, current news that is, so that this one can remain the focus of that Canal Zone community.
And what's the name of your show, Willie?
It's going to be
The Hemisphere Brief.
The Hemisphere Brief, yes, because I mean, really, everything is focusing on the Western Hemisphere, right? It's amazing that it took this long. If you look at history, right? Europe has been front and center for, forever. Asia has always been a big player, but even Africa at one point, becomes important. Then it's not important again. Then it's important again. But the one place that never seems to ever get mentioned when it comes to, the geopolitics of the world is the Western Hemisphere. Certainly the South America, that part of it is really a much not involved, conversation. And so now as we start looking at it and all these things start coming to light, and then we start talking about China and their aspirations around the world, you look and see how much money they've put into South America and the involvement, and you realize there's one person that did not ignore Latin America over the last 30 years. It was China. And we've kind of been caught with our pants down. Hopefully it's not too late, but again, that's for our Saturday night show. We're excited to get that going here soon. But as far as everything else, again, guys, a really, really fun show tonight. Really had a blast with all of you guys joining. Thanks for the commenting, all the great questions you guys had out there. A lot of cool things going on there. So, we have come to that point where we're gonna get ready to call it a night. But don't forget, guys, next week, great show. Steve Tochterman that was going to join us tonight a little bit under the weather this week. He'll be joining us next week. He's got that great book, Final Flight, Queen of the Air. It's a crime story, a true crime story, which will hopefully segue really well into what we were talking about today, the Darien Jungle and the Gap, because that was known as a place to get some really good drug smuggling routes again because it was so inhospitable and inaccessible. But the other guest that's joining us is Rudy Waller. You see on the center of the screen there. And by the way, Ricky, who's that next to Rudy Waller there? We talked about it last week. Yes, Manny Sanguillen, Pittsburgh Pirate great from back in the 70s. Ran into him on the Atlantic side doing some baseball stuff there. Rudy has taken all his fame, his success in Panama on the motocross track and transitioned it to bringing baseball to El Valle, and he's done a wonderful job with that, and we're happy to share that story about what this Zonian has done to give something back to this wonderful country we were all from. So I'm looking forward to talking baseball with him. You know, Major League Baseball just started up a couple weeks ago, so that's going to be fun. Speaking of sports, down the road in this new revamped schedule we have, JC joined us from a couple weeks ago when we had that Kiwanis show. JC Boyd, who does sports in Panama for RPC and a couple other, got his own gig going there. He'll be joining us about once a month to do a quick update on sports in Panama. Colin Castleton, Zonian's son, is playing in the NBA. We've got some Major League Baseball players from Panama that are really kicking butt. There was even a guy in the combines from Ohio State that had that Panama flag on his helmet that's going to be hopefully making a name for himself from Panama as well in the sport. So exciting things coming up on the show, guys. Really looking forward to it. Thank you again, guys, for joining us. Thank you for making Friday nights awesome for all of us. Ricky, why don't you get us out of here, man?
Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We love you very much, and lots of comments. That makes us happy. Hasta la vista. See you guys next week.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Next Friday is Good Friday, but it is still Happy Out to Balboa Yacht, so looking forward to it. Steve Stockman, get your rest. We'll have you on next week. Rudy Waller, looking forward to having you on as well. And, of course, looking forward to saying hello to all our friends in the Canal. So have an awesome weekend, everybody. Cheers, everyone. Salud.
Cheers.
Ricky, salud, man. Thanks. Great show, buddy.
Great show, buddy.